The building, located at 511 10th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C., or as we now know today as Ford's Theater, was constructed in 1833. It began as the First Baptist Church of Washington, more commonly called 10th Street Baptist Church, with Obadiah Bruin Brown as the first pastor. It had a regular congregation going to its Sunday services. In 1859, it combined with Fourth Baptist Church in order to gain a larger congregation. After the church left in 1859, the building is unoccupied for 2 years, needing some restorations. Then, John T. Ford, a theater manager from Holiday Street Theater of Baltimore, leases the abandoned church for 5 years, having an opportunity to buy it after that time. Ford rented the building to George Christie, who calls it the George Christie Opera House. He performs there with a group of medieval-style singers and musicians until 1862. On February 28, 1862, the theater is temporarily closed down, and $10,000 worth of renovations occur. On March 19, 1862, Ford reopens the theater, calling it Ford's Athenaeum. On December 30th of the same year, the facade is wrecked by a fire due to a defective gas meter. An estimate of the damages add up to about $20,000. In 1863, Ford rebuilds the theater, changing the name to Ford's New Theater. The reopening takes place on August 27th of 1863. The first play they perform there is The Naiad Queen, a grand romantic opera spectacle. It is during the next few years that Lincoln is known as a regular of shows at Ford's, even attending 12 plays. One of the plays he saw was The Marble Heart, starring his future assassin, John Wilkes Booth. On April 14, 1865, just 5 days after winning the Civil War, Lincoln, along with his wife Mary, Major Henry Rathbone, and Clara Harris, attended performance at Ford's Theater. Lincoln sat in the state box, or a private room on the second floor, approximately 12 feet from the stage, to enjoy a performance of Our American Cousin. No other box seats were in use that night. As the story goes, Lincoln's bodyguard goes downstairs for a drink at the lobby bar during Act 3. John Wilkes Booth enters Ford's through a backstage door and enters Lincoln's box around 10:15 p.m. This was not considered questionable, as Booth was a popular actor and friends with Ford. During Act 3, Scene 2, Booth waits for a certain moment because he knows the show has a joke at this time which is guaranteed to make the crowd laugh, and distracting them from the gunshot upstairs. Booth aims his gun and shoots at this time. Lincoln is shot in the back of his head by his left ear. Booth jumps out of the box and onto the stage, breaking his leg. He escapes the scene on horse. Lincoln is then sent to the Peterson house across the street, where he lives his final day until he dies due to his wounds early on April 15th. 12 days later, Booth is found and killed.
Sure to hit the mark in just about most things as well as shooting. All over you like apples, sass over loaf corn.
Ah, that's my own girl.
Apologizing, old man.
Sic semper tyrannis!
Secretary of War ordered a constant guard that would have been protecting the theater at all times. from rioting crowds wanting to burn it after the assassination. However, access was allowed with a pass from the judge's advocate office. The War Department allows John T. Ford to reopen the theater on July 7th after the hanging of the assassin's conspirators, Lewis Powell, Mary Surratt, George Surratt, and David Harrell. Washington's YMCA announced its hope to purchase the building and to preserve Ford's Theater as it was during Lincoln's assassination. The Abraham Lincoln Memorial Temple was to be its name, but it did not happen due to a lack of funding. After that plan failed, the theater was rented out by the government, and a Brooklyn firm redid the inside to become an office building. In July, after renting the theater for just over 1 year, Congress bought Ford's for $88,000. The building housed the Army Medical Museum, the Office of the Surgeon General, and the War Department. On June 9, 1893, some of the building collapses. 22 clerks died and 68 others were injured. The cause of the collapse was due to overloading the floor. Ford's is then closed as an office structure. The building is turned into a government warehouse. The building remains untouched until 1931. During this time, workers returned to change the first floor. It was changed into a museum of Abraham Lincoln. In the 1950s, Congress funded historical restoration of Ford's Theater to look how it was in the 1860s. Ford's Theater reopens as a working theater in 1968. In January, Ford's Theater opens for the first time as a National Historic Site, along with being a working theater. On February 13, 1968, Ford's Theater is open to the public. In August of 2007, Ford's Theater closes for renovations. The renovations take about 18 months. In February of 2009, Ford's Theater opens again. Ford's Theater Museum is officially open to the public July of the same year. In February 2012, Ford's Theater opened their Center for Education and Leadership.